Hello boys and girls, men and women of all ages. Thank you for stopping by at my video. So I woke up today and I just had this hankering to go online and look at what's the news for Elder Scrolls Online. And to my surprise, I found 20 minutes of leaked footage, gameplay from, I assume, the beta. And yeah, so it was on an article by Joystick, I think. But the video, I assume, is already taken down by ZeniMax because it's been a couple hours. They probably already taken it down. But if you want, you can go check it out. I'll post the link in the description. But anyways, the footage starts with the character creator. You choose your faction, Daggerfall Covenant, Almeri Dominion, or the Ebonheart Pact. Then you choose your race. They chose Daggerfall Covenant, which I assume is the only faction they're testing right now. So the player chooses a Breton. There's an extremely detailed character creator, hair, everything that you come to expect from an Elder Scrolls game. It's all in there. I think it actually might be more detailed than Skyrim, but I'm not sure. I didn't really get too much to look at. Yeah, the camera, whatever they filmed it with wasn't that detailed, so I couldn't really read the text, but yeah. So once the character was created, you have to choose a class that your stats will be based off of, but it won't limit you to specific abilities and armors and stuff. So the player chose a mage, and the player then starts off in a ship hull that's infested with rats, and there's a few cats chilling in the corners, I guess. And there's the sound of like seagulls and waves crashing against the ship. It's pretty dark. So you start off there. The player like walks around, kills a couple rats, and then talks to an Argonian, which is fully voiced. I'm pretty sure everyone's gonna be fully voiced in this game. And it sounds pretty good. I have no complaints there. There's a lot of dialogue options as well, so that's always a plus. So he talks to the Argonian, then the player emerges from the ship and is on the deck. And the first view you get is the horizon, the sun shining, palm trees, beaches, clear blue water. It's very nice. There's towering walls in the distance and a giant lighthouse, all with like domed ceilings and roofs that I guess are a staple to the Hammerfell, the nation, state, whatever you call it, of Hammerfell. The starting point was in Strosmakai, which is in Hammerfell, for the Daggerfall Covenant. And yeah, it's huge. You kind of feel dwarfed by the world from what I got from it, because as of now, it's only in third-person perspective mostly, because the first person is still being worked on, I believe. So yeah, you feel pretty small. And then the player brings up the map, and that's when you realize Strosmakai is like a really small island as opposed to the whole of Tamriel. And this island is huge. The player like spent, even in the 20 minutes, it barely scratches the surface of how big this island is. So this game is gonna be enormous, needless to say. Okay, so after that, the player wanders around on the docks. I think it's Port Hunding, and there's a lot of ships just sailing around. Talks to a few people, kind of skips through the dialogue, doesn't really pay attention to what they're saying. Explores the island a bit. There's a lot of beaches and ruins, and comes across a dwarven ruin at some point. Fights a mud crab, fights some rats and stuff. Pretty basic. There are a lot of different musical scores as well playing in the background, so it kind of gets you in the mood to play and explore. The classic Elder Scrolls like mood, spirit of exploration and discovery. Yeah, there's also a lot of quests the player can stumble upon. Like I saw one that the player just walks into this town marketplace and there's a bunch of like bodies littered around, and so he talks to some person that's hiding out in the house about something about her ship. I don't know. I don't think it actually had anything related to what was happening in the town, but there's a lot of bandits just roaming around, and the player died a couple times. So yeah, a lot of random encounters, it seems. Nothing too special though. Yeah, but now I'm gonna be talking about some of the problems that I saw with, I guess this is the beta, I'm guessing. There was no tutorial to start the game off. That was pretty disappointing, actually, because in every Elder Scrolls game, there's always this tutorial. You know, the prisoner, I'm the prisoner stuck in prison, gonna bail you out and redo your debt and do good for society, you know. But there's nothing that starts you out. You're just basically thrown into this world, and it's pretty overwhelming at first, I think. So I kind of hoped they would have some beginning storyline that would get you into it, but I didn't see anything. And that, I think, is a big problem. They're probably gonna do something about it, I hope. But they are not Bethesda, they're ZeniMax, so we will see. Okay. From what I saw, first-person mode was still in the works. There were no player hands visible. You couldn't see the mage's staff when he was shooting fire out of it. Yeah, in combat, you couldn't see anything. The fire just came out and hit the person. You couldn't actually see the motion of the staff. So, first-person mode has a lot to be desired. Third-person mode seems okay, I guess. The combat is pretty stiff, honestly. The player movement is also stiff. The running looks pretty awkward. He like wobbles, kinda. So, I mean, there's a lot to fix, honestly. And I was expecting something a little more refined, but we'll see. And yeah, so the player had a lot of balancing issues as well, because as I said, the player fought a mud crab, and the player lost half his health to a mud crab. And that's pretty ridiculous, because the mud crab was barely even hitting him or touching him. Yet the player was shooting so many fireballs at it, but it barely even touched the mud crab. So there's a lot of hitbox issues, and that kind of got me a little disappointed. But I mean, if this is alpha footage, then I would be fine with it. But if this is actually beta footage, then this stuff needs to be fixed and quicked. Yeah, there was a lot of balancing issues, and the animations of the NPCs look kind of cartoony. Not as bad as Oblivion. It's a lot better than that, but they still look cartoony, typical MMO cartoony graphics. I mean, the art style I think is fine. A lot of people have complained about it on the article, but I think the art style's fine. But the graphics, yeah, they are a little cartoony. They're not Skyrim graphics at all. People have been saying, like, at the alpha that, oh, the graphics are better than Skyrim. It's probably just on the engine they were running it on. I don't think it honestly has anything to do with the game, just the platform you play it on. Yeah, but I would say the feel remains Elder Scrolls. I want to say that, but I think it's too soon to make that judgment, since we don't actually know when this footage was taken, and I've never actually had hands-on with this game. And we also don't know when this game is slotted for release, so we don't know how long this will be in development in the future. They might extend the time frame and fix all these issues. We don't know. But from what I saw, there are a few issues, a lot of issues actually. But if they fix these, I'm still hoping. I still have a lot of hope for this game, and I don't want to give up on it yet. And a lot of people, from what I've seen on the forum or the article, are already doubting this just from the footage they saw. I don't think this footage is indicative of what we will get in the game, but as always, we'll have to just wait and see. But yeah, so that's basically it. That's all I saw. Yeah, I hope you guys can see the footage if it's not all taken down, but ZeniMax game developers in general are pretty good about taking down leaked footage pretty quickly, especially if this is like closed beta right now. They don't want any of this leaking. But yeah, so if you guys like this, help me out, give me a like, give me some support. But yeah, I'll try to get you some news once in a while about stuff that I find important and that affects the community. So thank you, and have a nice day as always, everyone.